especially at younger ages, kids hold on longer than they should sometimes. Then they get in scrambles and benefits. So, in terms of the drills that we covered, all of those are malleable, again, for the different age groups. You want to try and make it as effective as you can for each age group, but getting those core fundamental principles. Each year they'll get better at it, and the next group will have an easier time teaching the next group, and so on and so forth. I guess the bottom should be a free point.
Hey, while we're going over this, let's go over, if you get up, guy Matt returns you, how we should land. Yeah, let's go over that real quick.
If we do our stand-up, and get to our feet, but he gets his hands locked, if you're out and it quite right away, and he's a good wrestler, and before I can counter, he starts to get the lift in, wait, yes, you're going to do it. Before he gets the lift in, I have to know, as a wrestler, through drill and practice, that when I know I'm beat, and I know I'm going to get sent for that ride, we have to tuck our knees to the chest, and when you land with your knees under you and your hand down. Doesn't have to be straight, but hand. Don't let your face smack the mat, and don't let your hip smack the mat. Because when that happens, you're guaranteed almost with an extra 10 to 15 seconds on bottom. So Amir's going to lift me, and I'm going to land like a cat with here, and right back up. So Amir did a good job of coming across. Most kids don't do this mat return. I learned it from Valenti, but when he comes across there and he gets that torque, he's got me dead to rights here. I can't stop. So when I know that feeling's coming, I'm going to brace for it, and when he lifts me up, and the drill would be, when the kid brings him up, bottom guy, bring your knees to your chest, and when the guy returns him to the mat, you're going to do your best to get your knees under you and get a hand in front. So go ahead. Here. And so if I'm doing that on top of everything else, that is ideal. Now, you're going to also end up with kids that won't do it perfect, but that's okay. Okay? And they're going to end up like this. That's okay for a second. To land here for a split second, and then we'll right back up. We'll get into what we do. Get back in the master position. So strive for perfection, but understand that sometimes you're going to mess up. You're going to fall on your hip. Realizing that that's a problem and readjusting right away is the solution. So drill mat returns for the top guy, and we'll cover that next week when we do top, but at the same time, in that same drill, the bottom guy's landing and reacting.
So a drill that we do at the high school for that is we'll do like stand up, mat return, stand up. So the bottom guy will stand up, top guy will mat return them, and then bottom guy will stand right back up. So it's forcing you to land on your knees, not falling flat, so that way when you hit, you can pop back up. Because like you said, the biggest thing is anticipating it and being ready for it, because when guys fall flat, now it takes another 15 seconds, 20 seconds to try to build your base up and get back in position. So if you already know, like, all right, this guy's got this, let me get ready to land. Now that I land and go, because most guys, when they mat return you, they don't have a plan as far as like, all right, what's next? I'm going right to the next move. They mat return you, they try to adjust everybody, get in position. So if you can land in position and then pop up, you already got this guy on the defense.
100%. And again, the goal, math-wise, is if I'm constantly getting to my feet, how many times am I not getting turns now? How many matches am I going to win as a team and individually with kids? Because we didn't get turned on bottom. Maybe we didn't even escape. But we worked the shit out of that kid, and we didn't give up any back points when we were on bottom. I'm up. Every time I'm coming up, I'm not getting half, I'm not getting tilted, I'm not getting pinned. And so a big focus for us this year as a team was getting these guys to get out of as many precarious spots in every possible way to limit how many mistakes you're going to make. Because you're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. But if we can limit the percentage of those mistakes, you're going to see your match win rating go up, because we're not making mistakes. So these guys in the beginning of the year, not the best at fighting off their back in the beginning. Gave up more pins than I would like. By a month and a half of me and Coach busting their ass and making sure like you're not going to anymore, they turned it around big time. And for the rest of the season, we won a lot of those close matches, the criteria matches, the close matches, because we didn't give up those mistakes. Because on bottom, we're not giving up an extra 4 points because we gave up a tilt and a half at the end of a period and that kind of thing. And that's the same thing at 7 years old and 12 and 13. So limiting how many bad positions they get in is a hard thing to do in an encompassing way. But if we can pick, like this master position, where we're constantly getting to get there. Now they don't have to put the whole this together. They're just like, okay, I need to get here, now I know what to do. And if I teach them how to get to here from every way, they're going to know what to do in every situation. Now they're comfortable. Now again, they go to a clinic and they learn this move, add it. They watch whatever and they like, add it. But understand that your master fundamental bottom is no risk, get to your feet, take it one. You guys have questions on like what you see at your level where you're struggling with kids on bottom, like positions you run into where they're struggling?
Yeah, not really.
Just general.
It's just in general for us. But it's got we're teaching the right way now.
Yeah.
And I didn't know any of this. It was always stand up, old school stand up.
That's what I learned too.
Yeah. Last year is what we teaching kids.
And that's all I knew when I was young, so I got lucky to go over to Penn, but that is what we learned. That's what everybody knows, is that stand up. And it does work against a certain amount of people. The problem is it doesn't work at the highest level, and that's when they get caught. And then, so, again, bottom is, in my opinion, for the high school kids, the hardest position for me to teach them to master.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of the little kids, when they get taken down, like they're totally wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
They're just discouraged, and they kind of love them to shut down. You don't know what to do.
So I think a big part of that is that I spent a good portion of the first half of the year trying to figure out how to really get them to get it. But like what me and Coach Collins will tell them all the time is, bottom is an attitude. It's a serious attitude. You have to have a chip on your shoulder. You're the same size as me, you're the same weight as me, we weighed in. There's no way you're holding me down. And I'll say to them, if you were going to fight that kid in the parking lot in a street fight, would you let him hold you down? Or would you get up? You'd get up. So it's no different on the wrestling mat other than in your mind. Imagine that dude's got a friggin' knife. Whatever it has to be to get you to be alert and like, I gotta get up, that's the level of attitude you have to have on bottom. And I think when you're young, it's hard to get that. Because they're young. As they get older, they get a personality, they get a little bit more mature, can channel their anger in the right way, that kind of thing. When I was a kid, I didn't have anger issues, but if I didn't have wrestling, I would have had anger issues. So I used wrestling as my way to release my anger. When I'm on bottom, I'm so fired up on bottom, there's no way, I can't wait for that whistle to go. Fuck you so hard, I'm getting up. And when you get your mind trained like that, especially from bottom, that kid on top's coming to wrestle. And what do I tell you guys wrestling? It's a war. It's a fight without punching. That's what it is. You can't punch them, but everything else pretty much goes. So that mindset every time going out into the mat is the other side of coaching, rather than the technique and the fundamentals of getting the kid mentally there. And each age group will be different, each kid will be different, but in general, you want to put practice drills and practice things together to mentally toughen them up.
Yeah, and that's what I would say. That's why we practice the mat returns, and that would be something good for you guys to do with the little kids is when they stand up, because a lot of them aren't used to getting slammed on the mat like that on the mat return. So when they hit the mat, it's a little bit of a shock to them, and then they kind of like freeze up a little bit. So just by them practicing the mat returns, they'll get used to getting picked up and dunked down.
Feeling that slam.
Yep, and dealing with the slam, and then it'll start to teach their in practice how to react to it, and then they'll get better and better at like, all right, once I hit, now I can get up and go because it's not a shock to my system.
There's a lot of tough man drills you can do in all the positions, and I encourage you to do them in as many as you can. So in the room sometimes when I just want them, if I feel as though they're not being mentally tough that day, we'll put them in the tough man drill. So you're on the mat, he's got a half in, you got 15 seconds to pin his ass, and you can't do nothing but fight the half. If you get pinned or turned over, you got 20 push-ups.
You know, I was just going to say too, you know, even as little kids, with that age group, 10 push-ups to practice is not a...
Right.
Yeah,
So,
they should do a lot more.
yeah, and they're not going to be perfect when they're 8, you know what I mean? So, that's fine, but, yes.
Definitely having in that push-up position for a decent amount of time.
Yeah, and okay, we don't want to punish them, so to speak, for losing a battle, but I want you to have an incentive to not lose that battle. So if you don't want to do the push-ups, then I guess you're going to fight that half a little harder. And you do it in the nose, sometimes you put the kid on his back. in, and you start on your back. And now you got 20 seconds. You can't get pinned. You got 20 push-ups, and it's not really about that. The team can't have you get pinned. Those are team points. We can't have it. It's not about you. It's about them. All those kinds of things being reinforced in all different positions. When you're in a tough position in wrestling, you can't breathe, when you don't have the best grip, and you're stuck, it sucks. Pushing through that is the kids that rise to the top, and the kids that when they're in on that leg, and you can see it in the match, and they just let it go, because it's too hard. Well, you're going to consistently lose the same amount of matches you lose now, because you're not tough enough. And as coaches, it's our job to toughen them up. Especially this generation. The parents aren't doing the best job of making these kids bad. So it's really on us to put that into them. It's in this sport. This isn't baseball. This isn't basketball. It's a fight without punching. So the more we can teach them that in this venue, it's okay to be aggressive and tough, and because that is wrestling. So it's not for everybody. Some kids are just soft, but you can make them a little tougher. So bottoms mindset. Those are the drills that I think fundamentally we should be doing at every level. And then again, whatever we add in, that's fine. That's wrestling. Every coach knows what moves, and you add some techniques and stuff. But getting them to know the fundamentals of this position, so on and so forth, is going to pay dividends by the time they get to Bantam to junior, and by the time you're a junior intermediate, you're a middle school coach, these kids know what the fuck they're doing in all these positions already. So you don't have to reteach that so hard that season. Now I can really improve you to the next level. I don't have to reinforce or fix this bad habit and all that. And by the time you do this for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and those kids that are 5, 6 years old now are going to be 10, 11, 12 years old going into the middle school, we should see a big, big turnaround in terms of how many of our kids are competitive. Because right now there's a couple, but it would be nice for Deptford to have 5, 6, 7 kids coming in freshman year that are as good as Hayden and Clinton are. Because that's really what it takes to compete with these top schools. No, we're not going to beat Blair and Vernon Catholic, but if you want to beat the Highlands and go win your groups and, compete with the Delphis eventually, because that's my goal, that's what it takes.